Jay.
And I'm Kat. And today we have the lovely David Hayter here with us.
Hello.
Hooray! Ooh, a voice and everything.
Yeah, well.
Fresh from LA. As you can see, white, pale, pasty ghosts and this very...
golden.
Yeah,
That's right.
Sun-kissed skin. So, you guys probably are going to know him best from his Metal Gear Solid voice, Solid Snake. But he also wrote X-Men, X-Men 2, and the Watchmen screenplays. So, huge movies. So we are honored to have you here with us today.
Well, it's an honor to be here, and thank you for having me. And I understand that today is kind of a special day for the show.
This is the last time you'll ever see this set. So to have you on the last set is pretty epic. I don't think there's like, you can't do anything else.
It's an epic
I'm honored, so I sorry to see it go, but I just saw it for the first time, so I'm not terribly attached.
I don't even know how we got you here, I don't know.
Obviously, you wrote The Watchmen, amazing movie, great graphic novel, so you must have good taste in graphic novels. Any recommendations for other graphic novels for our viewers to be reading?
On X-Men, I sort of stopped reading comic books about the time I was 20 because I had no money left, and so I preferred, food.
Yeah, fair.
Shelter and whatnot. And then when I started working on X-Men, they gave me an expense account at the Silver Snail because we were because we were shooting in Toronto.
That's
I just went through, like I bought, all the X-Men comics that I needed, but I also said, what are the great graphic novels that I've never read? And so they started me on Sandman, which is incredible.
It's amazing.
It's incredible.
Okay.
I mean, it's just a brilliant masterwork. Read Lone Wolf and Cub all the way through, I think twice now, and that's pretty incredible. From Hell is pretty interesting. I mean, it's a little more challenging, but a very good read nonetheless from the master himself, Alan Moore.
What was the process like? I mean, writing a screenplay for X-Men, both 1 and 2, obviously.
I was such an X-Men fan when I was a kid. We used to play X-Men. I was always Cyclops for some reason. I guess it was the brown hair.
Did you always have to close your eyes?
Yeah.
And they would hate you?
Yeah, Cyclops is pretty powerful.
Yeah.
But that's also why he's more prevalent in my the X-Men films I was involved with. And then they just killed him off unceremoniously in the third one. So I really knew the comics very well, but like I said, I went to the Silver Snail and I bought a bunch of old issues and just went through the Essential X-Men, all those things. In fact, that's where it was one of those comic books where I found the line, Rogue asks Wolverine, does it hurt when they come out? And he says, every time. And I was like, that's great.
Yeah, great.
That should be in there.
And were you on the set a lot, or did you kind of write it and then kind of say, go with my baby?
No. Well, for X-Men 1, I was on the set for almost everything. I mean, I was either on set or I was back in the trailer writing, because it was just constant changes. We'd make up lines on set. Bryan Singer would say to me, I need Hallie to say something or other here. So I'm like, tell her to say this. Hallie, say this, and then she would say it, and we'd literally be making it up as we went along.
So you were feeding lines to Halle Berry.
Yeah, it was really cool. Well, one of my favorite lines, very much my type of humor, when Wolverine walks into Cerebro, he says, "Wow, this certainly is a big round room," like that, right? And so he was doing it, and it just wasn't working, and I was like, maybe it's not funny, but I was like, have him try it like this, have him try it like that. So Brian, would say, here, just throw it away, or do it like, holy shit, what is wrong with these people, And then finally, I think it was the 5th take, he did it, and everybody just cracked up. And
you're like, that's it, perfect,
that
win.
worked. Hugh Jackman is the nicest man on the planet, but they were all amazing. I mean, Halle Berry was amazing, and she put her hand on my knee once.
You went,
haven't watched
that.
I'm
not watching that.
Well, yeah, I told her a joke, and I said something funny, and she's like, oh, like this, and she put her hand on my knee, and it's just like an electric shock,
Are these the jeans?
These are not the jeans, unfortunately. I have them framed up on my wall.
In terms of the violence that comes from Wolverine, did you have to cross a line, or did you have to see a line and be like, okay, we can't cross that line?
On the first movie, we weren't sure exactly what the range of the audience was going to be, and the studio really wanted it to be PG-13. So, for example, he stabs Mystique in the stomach, and we show it, but you can't show flying blood. If you show flying blood, then it's a R-rated move. On the second film, we wanted the X-Mansion to get invaded, and have Wolverine be there as the world's most dangerous babysitter. And I was like, people got to get stabbed. I mean, we've got to.
You're like,
He's
you
got to.
can't avoid this.
He's got to kill these people. And he's got to, really tear into them. And so we had a lot more leeway at that point because the movie was a hit, and so they let us go, a lot rougher in the second film.
So you do voiceover, you've done acting, you do writing, you're now doing directing. Do you have a favorite? Is there
Exhausting
one
just hearing you.
Is there a special place in your heart for one of them that you've always felt was your dream or anything?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love all of it. I think I always say that acting, I think, is the best job in the world. It's just pure fun, and you just get to be somebody else and let yourself go and play, and so that's really fun. Voiceover is particularly fun, and
is that because you get to be in your pajamas?
Yeah, in a way. I mean, you don't have to shave, and you meet these amazing actors. Like I did Spider-Man, and Ed Asner was there as J. Jonah Jameson, and these amazing people. But I enjoyed the career of being a writer and particularly being a director more. It's you have more control over what you put out there, and the directing was really fun too. That's like a real job where you're working very long hours, and it's exhausting, but it's really, really fun.
For you, personally as a director, what's your favorite part of it?
Stanley Kubrick said that the director is sort of an idea and taste machine. And another great quote from my friend Brian Singer, who said, when you direct a film, you have all of these amazing artists working in the art department and the music and the actors and set painters. Everybody they're all top professionals in their own right. So when he said it's not really my vision, it's my vision of their vision.
Currently, you're directing Wolves, or Wolves is done shooting, and now you're in the stages of putting it all together?
That's right. We're doing the final sound mix here in Toronto, over at the Deluxe Studios, and so I'm just listening to wolf growls again and again and again.
I like that one. I don't like that one.
Yeah,
I like that
well,
one.
Totally. That's exactly what it
Layer
is.
those two together.
Wolf voices are very complex because it's hard to just put animal sounds in there. So actually what we've done is, and this is an exclusive for you guys, what we've done is when Lucas Till, who is our lead, when he speaks and he's the wolf, it's him speaking, and then it's me in the background growling it up and sort of putting accents on, and they just, so it sounds like his throat is articulating those things through a wolf throat, and then layering in actual animal sounds under the breathing and whatnot. So I've done that for him. The brilliant creature voice actor D. Bradley Baker has done it for Jason Momoa, and so it's quite something the way we've put together the voices.
Can you tell us a little about the plot of Wolves? Like, what type of film is it? Obviously, wolves.
It's about wolves. Yeah,
I'm sure it's about wolves.
It is.
Natural, I guess, because they're talking.
They're talking wolves. Well, it's about a kid who finds out at a young age that he is a lycanthrope, and he sort of freaks out and has to go on the run, and he basically tracks down a town that where he's told that these creatures come from, and so he goes to find out who he is and gets involved in some wolfy
So it's sort of a coming-of-age story meets supernatural wolf story.
Totally, yeah. Well, it's not a horror film. It's more of an action. It's a hero's journey. The typical werewolf film where it's about the madness within. It's really more about, that time when you're a young man and you hit 17 or 18 and you're dealing with the onset of sex and violence and just these uncontrolled emotions. And the goal of the film is to sort of teach him how to control that and how to use that to his benefit rather than just killing people willy-nilly. Right. It's autobiographical, really.
How did you end up working on so many Japanese animations?
Well, that's an interesting story. Hopefully, I was poor. I had moved to Hollywood.
Hey, we're poor.
Well, then I feel for you because it sucks. In '93, I starred in a movie called Guyver Dark Hero, and that was mixed at a soundstage called Magnitude 8 in the Valley in California. The sound mixers had a side job where they would do the English translations of Japanese anime for Pioneer Laserdisc. It was just a crazy job. I mean, just So they just had piles and piles and piles of work, and they would pay $50 an hour, which was a massive
Nice.
amount to me. And so I would just go in and do hours upon hours of just watching lip flaps and matching, my voice to the character, and it was really, really fun. And through that, I got to do. I became one of the big actors, or not big actors, but one of the most reliable actors. Me and Bryan Cranston, actually. He was also working there at the time, before his big break on Malcolm in the Middle, and so I'm actually in a number of movies with Bryan Cranston, which is pretty cool. And one of them was called Lupin III, Castle of Cagliostro, which is Hayao Miyazaki's first film.
Yeah.
And so they had me play the lead role, and I didn't know what it was. They just brought me in. They said, well, we've got this lead role for you. So, good. So I went in, and I was watching the movie. I was like, this is pretty good. I mean, like, this is like a real movie. And so that in the end has become one of my favorite roles.
So you did write screenplays for Chronicles of Riddick and The Hulk.
Yes.
Pick whichever one you want, but is there a secret, a tidbit you can share with us about a different way that your plot went, or, it was way darker, or it was way more, it was actually a musical.
It was
right,
on
the
that
original
way.
Hulk, right? Like not
the Ang Lee
Incredible
Hulk.
Yeah. Yours was good.
Well,
I'm kidding.
no,
We'll cut that out.
let the audience
That's
decide.
between us.
No, I appreciate it. I felt it was pretty good. Hulk was changed completely. So was Chronicles of Riddick. Chronicles of Riddick, I wrote more of a straight up sequel. So if you saw Pitch Black,
It made more sense with the world.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I liked Chronicles of Riddick, but it seemed like a
was
totally
fine, but
different genre.
it turned into a whole much bigger thing, and so I wasn't really, the first movie had only made so much money, and I thought, let's do a mid-budget sequel, and basically mine was about, he ends up he's on a quest for something or other, he's supposed to find somebody, and they're on a planet that is alive, and basically I researched every way that plants could kill you, and I made up a bunch of other ones, and so it was just this whole living planet that he was up against, and they were about to come up on the bloom, which was, all hell's going to break loose. So it was very similar in structure to Pitch Black.
In terms of X-Men 3, The Last Stand,
Yeah.
was there a moment when they asked you to do it, or was there like some sort of, was there a reason you weren't involved?
No, we all had a bit of a falling out with the studio after X-Men 2, so, Brian wasn't there anymore, and I wasn't there anymore, and it's a shame, because Brian and I had talked about doing 3 movies and really building to the Dark Phoenix climax, You figure when the movies are successful, everybody should be friends, and
Should be on board.
everybody should be thrilled with what's
finish
going
this
on,
off.
and there was just conflicts with various people that were not as pleasant as they could have been.
Yeah.
So unfortunately we weren't there. I would have loved to have done it, but I also wouldn't have done it without Brian, because he gave me my big break.
So in terms of writing a script for a comic book or a graphic novel, obviously Watchmen is one graphic novel, and you can't really go anywhere else. And in X-Men, you had a bajillion things you could look at.
Sure, yeah.
So in terms of writing those are very two different things to write. And which one was more difficult for you? Because you had so much to choose for X-Men, opposed to just having this one amazing graphic novel. Was there one that was just easier, or was there one that was harder?
Well, they're always hard. I mean, it's always a huge process with a lot of people looking over your shoulder. X-Men, for the first film, we tried to keep it very simple. We had to introduce 11 superpowered people, and there's a lot of setup there. So it was really, we tried to keep it simple. And basically what I tried to do was take the classic story of the young girl coming to the X-Mansion the way Kitty Pryde did when I was a kid, or the way Jubilee did, or the way Rogue did, and then bring in Wolverine and sort of have him be the fulcrum between Magneto's attitude and Xavier's attitude.
Yeah.
So Watchmen was very different in that it had to be what it was in the book, as far as I was concerned. I mean, so it was really more a matter of, I spent a good 7.5 years working on that film at 4 different studios. So what was difficult about that was keeping it Watchmen.
Like bringing it with you and making sure that when they came in, they weren't like, hey, we gotta...
Yeah, let's turn it into a buddy comedy with just Dan and Rorschach, and can we get rid of the blue guy, and can we get rid of this? And I'm like, you can't.
Did you actually get
rid of
those
the blue
notes?
guy. Yeah.
They like
Oh my
get rid of
God.
it? That's ridiculous. In terms of like Alan Moore and his like whole, I don't want to watch this sort of thing, but he has a quote saying that basically if anyone was going to do it, you did it the best.
Yeah, it's
And
good
I
to
read
say
that-
that you did the best
Yeah, I read that
graphic
quote.
novel to movie.
Well, he,
Writing
you know,
effort.
that was very cool of Alan to do. I got in touch with him. Somebody gave me his phone number, and I just called him at his house. And early on in the process, and I said, look, I understand that you have a certain antipathy towards the movies, and I get that, but I wanted you to know how much I love this piece of material and how much I want it to remain true to the original book. So if you feel like, you know, you want to be involved or advise me or you know, whatever level you want to be involved, you just let me know. And he said, oh no, David, you know, you just, the novel was my story and the film is your story, but if you have any questions, you just give me a call like this.
So nice.
Yeah, he was just lovely. So, you know, people often say to me, oh, I bet you Alan Moore hates your guts, and you know, maybe he does,
Actually,
but
we had a
it
small
was,
heart to heart.
yeah, he was so
I
so
guess.
nice. And then I would call him. I called him once and I asked what the bestiary was. They in the book, Dr. Manhattan says, I'm very close to discovering a gluino to put in the bestiary. And I said, what's a bestiary? And he's like, oh yeah, well that's you know, the collection of old particles that they've been discovered so far. And,
Okay.
you know, so on and so forth. And then he was, you know, he seemed happy that I was getting into that level of detail. So
Yeah, that's amazing.
so he was very supportive of me as a fellow writer.
So in terms of Watchmen and getting that as close to the novel as possible, obviously there's a huge difference from the novel into the film would be the squid, obviously at the
Yeah.
end. Was that something you looked at and were like, this is not going to work in film?
Yeah,
Not
to
work for the Hollywood audience. Kind
well,
of
to a certain extent. I mean, there were a lot of reasons why. You know, like I love the squid in the book, and those images are incredible. But you know, you have to keep in mind, I literally signed my first contract to write Watchmen on September 10th, 2001. So the next day, the ending of the movie happened to New York, and I didn't have any appetite to see Times Square filled with bodies and, you know, just massive destruction. So first of all, I thought, you know, if we're going to kill a bunch of people in New York, it should be clean, it should be, you know, nuclear, it should be,
Yeah.
you know, you still have to, you know, accomplish that in the end. But, so that was one reason. Another reason was, you know, the squid, I always feel like, it's sort of my rule for movies, genre movies, that you get one piece of magic. You know, like you get the Force, and then everything comes from the Force. You get the Ring, all magic comes from the Ring. You
Yeah.
know, the audience will buy that. When you get into two, it starts to get muddy. And so I thought, you know, we have Dr. Manhattan, and then we have a teleporting space squid, and I have to, and I also have to justify that at the very end of the movie when I've gone through a ton of exposition already. I've already been telling people so much stuff about these characters. Then to set that up would have required another half an hour of dialogue, and you know, the idea of Dr. Manhattan being the catalyst in the end seemed to fit for me. You know, he's woven into the world, and the whole question of the movie is how much power is beneficial, and when does it start to become destructive.
So Marvel actually hired you to write the Black Widow film, and this is like 2004. And what exactly happened there? Because I've obviously read online that you handed in the script and they said it's good, but it's not something we want to make right now.
I mean, that's not really what they said to me. What they said to me was
That's what's funny, how things can just sort of over the years change.
Well, yeah, and people, you never know unless you're in the room. You know, it's hard to. I mean, plus they'll say things and mean something else or whatever. No, what happened was, you know, I was hired to write and direct Black Widow, and it was going to be a mid-budget movie, like a $30 million movie, and so I wrote it. It was dark, and it was, you know, she really went through hell, and it was her sort of origin story. We were having production meetings about it, and then in one weekend, Eon Flux came out, and Ultraviolet, and
Yeah.
and then there was another one, Blood Rain.
And they all didn't do well, right?
And they all tanked, and so that was it. We were pretty much dead. And Marvel also told me that they were, as part of their evolving strategy, they were really going to focus on the bigger films. They didn't really want to do the mid-budget films. They did Punisher, which was fine and made money, I guess. And but that was how it was explained to me. I think it was really just thanks, Charlie.
I don't blame her. But you know what?
No, I don't blame her.
She's like this movie a lot.
I actually
I
enjoyed
like it
I
too.
don't know why. Everyone hated it. I don't know. I enjoyed the
The
sci-fi.
foot
I liked
hands,
how it
you like?
looked. Well, did you ever watch the old cartoons?
I did a little bit, but I missed the foot hands. Charlize is an old friend of mine, and she's lovely in everything she does. So.
Her outfits in that are hot.
Yep. No
She
question.
looks good in that
She
movie.
does look good. She does. I don't remember the mustache
Oh yeah.
or the penis.
I was not impressed that Jay did this. He got in trouble this morning.
Sorry. So in terms of Marvel and DC, do you have a side that you prefer? Just a personal side that has better characters for you?
No, I love them both. I really grew up more with DC, and Marvel. Marvel caught my eye as I got a little older, and I read Frank Miller's Daredevil run, which was incredible, and X-Men, obviously. The Marvel brand changed my entire life, and Batman caused me to buy this watch.
So in terms of other comic book films that you've seen, is there one out there that you just watch, like maybe Dark Knight or Dark Knight Rises, or is there something else that you're anticipating? Maybe the new Superman film?
Yeah, well, I'm excited about that. The internal buzz seems to be that Man of Steel is going to be pretty awesome.
They finally nailed it?
Well, that's what I hear. I mean, they spend a lot of money on these things, so they like to talk them up. But I'm really excited. I hope that one's great. And I loved X-Men First Class. I thought that was beautifully done and beautifully directed.
They did such a great job.
I think, First Class is really up there. Obviously, you have Wolves that you've been working on in Toronto for 8 months now. Now you're doing some stage audio stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything else that you're working on that you get or actually able to talk about? Because every time we have a voice actor here, they go, "Well, there's the."
No. No.
Yeah,
No.
it's hard.
No.
You can't really talk about these things in advance. But I'm about to go record a voice for a game called Republique, which is being made by Ryan Payton, who was a producer on Metal Gear 3, among others, and so he asked me to do that. I just signed on to do another movie, but I can't really talk about that yet. So
Genre? Can you say genre of this?
yeah,
movie?
comic book adaptation.
Cool.
Oh man.
Yeah, no, it's pretty badass. So.
Oh, now you're killing me.
I know. I'm sorry, but I
Comment
shouldn't have brought
below
it
on
up.
what your guesses are of what it might be.
Yeah, comment
Oh,
below.
you'll never guess it.
You'd
but-
never be. You don't think we can guess
Never,
it?
so
Here?
it's
Well,
an
you might, I
obscure
guess. I don't know.
character.
Is it
Alright?
obscure?
I don't even know. I'd never heard of it. They just sent it to me, and I was like, oh, this is a pretty good story.
Oh,
So,
really?
Yeah.
So a lot of people sent in some questions, and we'll just do 2 of them.
Okay.
Because we've been talking and talking and talking.
Yeah.
Probably sick of me.
No.
No, he's sick of me. He's happy to hang out with you then.
We're fine.
So Zach McCoy from Twitter
Uh-huh.
wants to know, who's your idol in voice acting business? Do you have one?
Mostly myself. I really enjoy
Yeah.
my work. I think
Well, you're pretty famous in
I'm
that.
great. My idols are, Jennifer Hale, who really helped me get into the business and who I wouldn't be Snake without. Who else do I love? I mean, there's
Elias
so
Defensive?
many.
Don't really
No.
Medium.
Elias is excellent. He's a very talented and a lovely, hilarious guy. Steve Blum is amazing. I just worked with, like I said, D. Bradley Baker, who's incredible. And voiceover is such a specific thing. It's about, creating an emotion or a reaction in people just using your voice, and it's a pretty incredible skill.
AJ from Twitter, only use my feet. That's kind of funny. I'll show him. He literally can't use his hands. I've seen some of his videos.
Okay.
He actually uses his feet to play video games, so he's he's a big fan of yours.
Oh, wow.
He wants to just know if there's a character in a video game that you would love to voice. Is there something that isn't maybe in the history of video games that you would have loved to do or take a shot at?
Well, I auditioned for Batman for something or other not too long ago, but I kind of didn't want to get it because I love Batman so much, and I was just like, and I love Kevin Conroy, so I didn't feel like that was something I should do.
Well, and Batman is like the iconic deep gravelly voice. Like,
Yeah, exactly, and I kind of felt like it would be too close to Snake, and it just wasn't, it wasn't the right. I mean, I would love to play Batman, but I think really what I'd like to do is write and direct Batman. I just did played the lead Jedi voice in Star Wars: The Old Republic, so we did that for about 2 years, and I'm having lightsaber fights and chopping people's heads off and just threatening
Pretty
people
cool.
and using the Force. So they'd say, okay, this is a Jedi mind trick, so you don't want to pick up that glass, and they'd say things like, more Jedi. I'm like, you don't want to pick up that glass, and it was just like it was
More
really
Jedi.
it was really cool, and for such a massive Star Wars fan as I am.
So I gotta ask you this because I've asked Mark and Elias before. In terms of the next trilogy of films in Star Wars universe, is there something that you just have in your head that you dream they're going to do?
I dream that they'll bring back sort of the Han Solo flavor of it. Explore that world with a little more care. J.J. Abrams is a genius, and I've loved all of his films. I think he just is at an amazing point in his career. So I have every faith.
It's amazing that they got him
down.
to do this.
Yeah.
And like some people already say, he technically turned Star Trek into Star Wars in the last film in certain ways.
Yeah, I guess to a certain extent, but I don't think so. I mean, that film couldn't have felt more Star Trek to me. I mean, I think he nailed the characters. I think he, even the action of it was pretty
so
Star
good.
Trek.
And
I
he
mean,
changed
it
it
was,
from sort of classical to rock and roll.
Yeah,
It's just
exactly.
Such a ride.
Yeah, so I don't agree with that. I think he did an amazing job with Star Trek, and that was an impossible task.
Yeah.
Like that's one where if they came to me with it, I'd be like, I don't know if I can do that.
So no pressure on the new Star Wars film.
Yeah.
Well, and then new Star. Well, but to a certain extent, you've got the last 3 Star Wars films, which take a little of the pressure off. Like
So
he's
it's
got to
like,
be able to
yeah.
do it better than
Yeah, that's
that,
true. Good point.
So
Good point.
shoot, Mark Hamill sitting in a chair, and I think you'd be better off.
Win.
Yeah.
When you were younger, did you play a lot of games? And is it, I guess you obviously are doing some voices in video games that are next gen, and to see that technology go from like a pixel on the screen to a world, has that been amazing for you? Because you probably got a better view than anybody in terms of like the Metal Gear series. You've watched it go from Metal Gear 1 all the way until
Well, I was there when Pong came out. I used to go over to my friend's place and we'd play Pong. We thought that was a miracle. Then I was there when they started building arcades, and I'd go and play Asteroids or Centipede or Space Invaders. So yeah, I didn't really expect that I would still be playing games at my current age, which we don't need to get into. But
22?
It's 22 or so. The games are so good, and they've become such an incredible new storytelling tool, and the visuals are amazing.
Do you have like a favorite game, like somebody just like, hey, try that game, and you played and you were like, holy crap?
I bought a used PlayStation just so I'd have one up here. I've been in Toronto for 8 months, and so I played Red Dead Redemption through again.
Yeah.
And I just cheated off the top and got like ultimate ammo and endless Deadeye, and I just ripped through the whole world, and it was awesome. And I have a deep and conflicting problem with Arkham City in that I cannot stop playing it. I just keep going around and around and around and through the story, and it's so good.
Yeah.
And and then to get the skins and to play as the Dark Knight Returns, the Frank Miller.
Yeah.
He's kind of old and fat, and it's great.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Well,
It's
thank you for having me.
so cool to have someone who's written such amazing movies.
Amazing.
Here in the flesh.
I personally I think like Watchmen's the #1 comic book film.
Oh, well, that's
And, like,
very kind
James
of
is obsessed with it.
Yeah,
The
I'm-
posters all over the
ridiculous.
room.
Watch
Have you
it
seen
every
Have you
time.
seen the Ultimate Cut?
Yeah,
That's my
like,
favorite.
with the Blu-ray and everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Cool.
you're gonna be signing it.
Oh, good. Good. Well, thank you guys. This has really been fun, and best of luck with your show and your new set. And
Yeah, actually, I was gonna say, in honor of having you here, I think we do something on the show called a shit show. But obviously, having you here is far from that. And that's just when a game comes out
appreciate
and
that.
it's just shit.
Right. Yeah.
And we usually destroy the set.
Right.
But I think in honor of you being here, it'd be cool if you helped us just rip these posters down.
Well, okay. I'll help Charlize out here.
Isn't she gonna be mad at you though?
But no, it should be fine.
This one stays though.
Yeah, that one stays, and I can't rip down Red Dead Redemption. So you have to do that.
Okay. you go. Tag team.
So there we go. So there you go.
Easy as that.
So next time you see us, we're gonna have a new set, but David won't be here,
No,
It won't be here.
so it won't be as good.
I'm sorry. I'll be waiting off camera, watching
fine.
everything they do.
Patiently.
Hey, you guys want to check out other videos with famous people? Look below. There's one with Mark Meir, one with Elias Tefexis, and then I get DP'd by both of them in one interview.